Michaela had this illustration that she wanted to color, and because the way the illustration was originally created, with just creating these strokes, it's going to be really difficult to do that. I'm going to zoom in. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. Part of it is if we go to outline view, you'll see a lot of these lines are not actually connected here. They're not overlapping or even touching in any real way. To make this better, it would be behoove Michaela to go in and actually connect these. This is a really nice illustration, but for us to color it, the problem will have to be that these would be better if those lines actually touched or intersected in some way. Uh, Same thing with these lines, for instance, up here. Still, given what we've got, let's see if we can actually add some color to this illustration, other than just changing the color of the individual strokes, which we could probably do. Let's see what happens when we just add a little bit of color to the stroke here. We can color it that way, for instance. But we're still not really getting the colors into any of these spaces, for instance, right? Um, we'll just go ahead and select all and take the color fill out of it for right now. And we can look at that as that is. So we want to be able to color some of these things in here. Tell you what we'll do. We'll start with taking that layer one, and we're going to go ahead and make a duplicate of that. Okay, just right as it is right now. Um, so we've got layer one copy, and maybe we'll hide that one and for the time being and go back and work on the original layer. What I want to do is go ahead and select all of this and change this line work into shapes. The way to do that is select all, for instance, or you can marquee select it if you can get around it. Select all is Command A, by the way. Now we've got the whole thing selected. Excuse me. And I'm going to go under Object and Expand Appearance. Okay. Doesn't look a lot different right now, but if we go in closer again to where we were before and look at it in outline view, we'll see that now those are no longer strokes, but they're actually shapes that are, in some cases, now solve some of our problem with whether they're connecting and overlapping. Um, but we could still potentially have some problems with it. We'll have to see how that works. I can still see that some of this may become an issue. But now we're dealing with shapes, not with lines here, right? Um, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our transform palette, we're going to take that same thing again, and we're going to do a unite on it, okay? Again, doesn't look any different, but let's go in closer and we'll look at that in outline view, and you'll see that now these things are actually connected, right? The whole thing, as long as it was touching, it is now connected into a larger shape there that looks like line. So I'll go back to outline view. We'll look at it this way. One more time, I'm going to select all, and this time I'm going to go and I'm going to release the compound path here, because that's what it is now a compound path. And I'm going to hit unite again. And what that's done is just created a single shape out of the ones that were touching that had created the compound path. It's now just a single shape. You can see there's a few stragglers, if you will, there that we weren't able to get. And we may have to deal with those individually. But for right now, we've got a nice, dark, solid shape in the background. We'll go ahead and turn this layer back on, and because, well, I'll tell you what, let's take that compound shape. I'm going to turn that off for a second and make it a completely different color, right? that united shape, that one solid shape like that. We'll make it a completely different color here with that. So now let's turn this on and we can see our shape on top of it, the line work, as it were, on top of it. I'm going to lock that bottom shape because I'm going to do a similar thing to this that I did with the other. I'm going to go to Object, Expand the Appearance, right? I'm going to go ahead and unite it there. Thing is, I'm not going to do here is release the compound path. I'm going to keep it the way it is. And now I'm going to unlock that bottom layer and select all of this, both the things on one layer. And this time I'm going to use the merge. Merge is really useful for, especially if you're doing silkscreen t-shirts and things like that, and you need to separate things into their specific colors. Merge does a great job with that. And you'll notice that right now we have two layers. Once I get done with the merge, it's going to put everything on one layer. I no longer have anything on this first layer here. Doesn't look like anything's different, really, but we'll zoom in again, and you'll notice, especially if I select all and I ungroup here, that I can start to look at selecting pieces of this. I may have to use my ungroup or my group select regardless. I can select pieces and change their color, right? In this case, maybe I want that to be this color. I'll select this one as well and make it also that color, right? We can go in and individually select now. Now this, again, we had some difficulty with some of these areas were not intersecting the way that we would have liked to begin with. It would have been much better if they were, but we can go and start to select things and change their color. Perhaps, and I can tell by selecting that that's actually going to change the color of what seems to be the stroke, but I don't want that, obviously, because that will change the whole thing. I want to be able to get into that space, and it doesn't look like I'll be able to get that one necessarily. But this one, I can change the color. Maybe in this instance, all I'm going to do is darken that red there. So maybe I'm working with a color of hair, and I want to darken some of it and lighten other aspects of it, right? So sometimes we'll be able to do it as long as I select it and I get the red, I know I'm working with that. And I could even do, slightly different values of that red to create this kind of color thing that I'm doing here with that. If it comes up to blue, I won't be able to do that. Um, for instance, if I select this one here, let's see, no, I'm getting it. These are all I could work with, but there'll be some that I won't be able to work with. These I can all change those a little at a time. But if it comes up the blue color, then I'll know that I won't be able to change its color. At any rate, that will allow me to go in and selectively change the color in specific areas here with this. Let's go ahead and change that one and get it to be the same color as that, for instance. Okay. So again, I created the two layers so that I could have one that I changed into just one solid shape on the background. Then I used the other one and did all the same steps as far as uniting it, but I did not release the compound path on that one. And then I selected both those and used the merge. Then I ungrouped it And then that allowed me to go in and selectively change the color of these areas inside of it.